now, what was Harry? What was a question that you felt Ron was avoiding?
All right, thanks for giving me the platform. I guess he kind of touched a little bit on my question, but he totally misunderstood what my intentions were of the question. He was saying that I'm asking, first of all, just to put on the record, Ron over here is very public about this, especially in Instagram posts, that prior to 1492, that the Judeans of the Iberian Peninsula were of the original Hebrew Israelite class that he refers to. So then my question back to him was, okay, if that's what he's saying, I'm not just proving that I come from the house of David because we have records from the year 900, but we have from, let's say, the year 900 to 1400, not just records of Spain. We're talking the Judeans of Spain were the advisors to the kings on the Christian side and on the Muslim side. They were writing works of poetry in Hebrew. They were writing codes of Jewish law. I'm saying we're dealing with a 500 to 600 year period here where these people influenced the whole entire European continent in the Iberian Peninsula as Torah masters. So for me, it just seems so strange for him to go so hard on like, hey, these pre-1492 Iberian Judeans. And I'm like, well, if this is your ancestors, I know what they wrote down. Are you studying what they wrote down? Because what they wrote down is not exactly the type of Torah you're preaching to your community, which leaves out humans who would say, let's say they wanted to graft in. I'm not saying I'm a convert, but let's say if I was a convert, he would look at me like I'm a second-class citizen. If he read the works of his ancestors from Iberian Peninsula, like Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, everyone go to his Wikipedia page to look into it, he'll see straight up that there was a code of Torah law, like the blockchain, that was passed down from generation to generation. So my question to him was, you can reference the people, but what about their writings and their laws? And so I feel like this is a huge chunk missing in the spiritual awakening of this community that we're dealing with, of your community, that I feel honored that you let me in to have this conversation right now.
Uh-huh. All
right. Well, this is the thing I gotta say. And Harry knows the truth. Harry, the children of Israel, when they were in Egypt for 400 years, did they? Would it be safe to say that they mixed with a lot of the Egyptians and the Cushites that lived in the land?
I mean, we see, Joseph had an Egyptian wife, right?
Correct. Was the Egyptians back then, were they black or were they white?
I don't think that society back then.
No. You know the history. You know what Herodotus said. You know different scholars say. You know what the pictures look like on the walls of Egypt. You know what the wooden statues of the Egyptians with afros and brown skin, what they look like. So were they black or were they white?
Yeah. Well, just to put this into context, you're answering my elaborate question with going back in time, 1,000 or 2,000 years. I just want to throw that out there. But from my understanding of history, yes, we're dealing with a period of dark-skinned people, which I've never denied on record that was the color of most people back then. But I also know that there were codes and societies that had mixed colors because your color didn't determine your standing in a society. It was rather your class, maybe on your wealth, et cetera. So you would have had in ancient Rome or ancient Greece maybe very influential, high-profile, dark-skinned people who had powerful positions. And I'll speculate over the last, 1,000, 2,000 years that may have been the same in Egypt. But let me go again. We're dancing around the point that I'm trying to really solidify here for your viewers who, when I'm not on the line, you can kind of speak about me and what I've said and spin the story your way. But now I'm here, I'm in front of your face, and I'm calling you out and saying, what's good?
You're right. So what we're going to do is, because you like to dance, and you like to say a lot of mumbo jumbo, but
I'm not doing dancing right now.
Wait, Harry, listen, Harry. Yeah. The sons of Ham, were they people of color? Were they black? Were they people of color? Were they black people? Were they, yes or no? That's the question. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. Were they black or were they white? The sons of Ham.
Yeah. Well, let me just be very clear with this. I've been saying this the whole time. Irregardless of
this, I just answered the question, Harry. Say yes or no. Were they black or were they white? You should know this.
I know for certain that people back then were marrying and having genetic breeding amongst multiple different tribes and colored-skinned people. And I know for certain that color had nothing to do with the formation of
you just said that. You just said that, Harry. You're repeating yourself. What color were the Cushites? The Cushite Nubians, the sons of Ham. What color were the Cushite Nubians?
I'll tell you like this. In my world of scholarly debate, when you answer me a question, you would have to say what point you're going to try to prove.
Okay, I'm gonna show you my point. I'm gonna show you my point. So basically, I'm gonna prove to you from the time before the Exodus to after the Exodus, before the Israelites had a king with King Saul, before they had King David, before they had King Solomon, that the Hebrew Israelites in those days were people of color. They were not the Ashkenazi Sephardic Jews. Therefore, I don't care what you say about the XLR from 900 AD. If you could trace your lineage back to King Solomon, King David, then you're basically saying something that's impossible, because the people back in those days, around 1000 BC, around 900 BC, they had just literally not within 500 years got out of Egypt and were running around the wilderness. Then they went to the land of Canaan. In the land of Canaan, they were mixing around with the Canaanites. They were mixing around. Well, they already had Egyptian blood in them. They already had Cushite blood with them with Moses and Zipporah. And then you add another component. You have Cushite, Egyptian, and then Canaanite. In the book of Judges, chapter 3, it talks about the children of Israel and how all the people started mixing with the Canaanites. But then this is the thing. Now you go to the time of King Solomon, King David, before you even had any sieges from Babylon or Assyria. But you're saying that you still can date back your lineage going back to King David, King Solomon, 1,000% with 1,000% certainty. And if I ask you, were the sons of Ham black or white? You know that they were black. You know that the Canaanites were black. You know the Egyptians were black. You know that the Cushites were black. So the Hebrew Israelites came out of Egypt, and before they even had King Saul, they were already black from mixing with the sons of Ham for almost 1,000 years. And then you're gonna tell me that during the Assyrian and Babylonian siege, that the children of Israel all of a sudden turned to what looks like you, a Sephardic Jew with red hair and a red beard, and you're saying around 600 BC, which is about 300 years after King David, King Solomon, that they all of a sudden changed from black to white. Where did that happen? Where did that happen, Harry? Because you basically said that from 900 AD on is where you have written records.
You're not cracking any codes over here. Let me just give a quick response. You wasted so many words to prove a point that you didn't need proving.
You're not using critical thinking. You're using logic and critical thinking, Harry.
That's
critical
where you're
thinking
wrong.
logic.
I'll dissect your thought right now and let you know that you're very wrong. First of all, you don't need to prove to anyone and waste time to say that the children of Israel weren't white originally. If you look at what Judah the Prince wrote down 2,000 years ago, he was an exilarch, which exilarchs were the representatives of the house of David all the way to the year 900. He wrote down that the children of Israel were not white. So the Jews themselves have an original teacher. So you're wasting all this time telling your people. You could have just looked into the Torah and our literature, and that would have said for certain. But you look at all of a sudden, King Solomon, let's say he had 1,000 wives. You don't know the genetic mixing of the people of Israel. We recorded which families were from the line of King David, which families were converts. And there was, Greeks and Israelites were having relations in the Mediterranean area. And the Israelites went into Africa. And they did go towards Iraq, and they went towards Syria, and they went towards India. They went around the whole world. This narrative that only you and your friends could be part of the house of Israel. And then you say, even these people in Spain were part of my team, but you neglect what they've actually taught about the Torah. And this is my one point that I'm still seeing you can't address, because you're just going back into time and trying to prove that the original Israelite must have been black. So that what that means the Torah that they wrote down in 1100. What does that have to do with the color of the original Israelite? Let's address the question.
So you're deflecting to what does the color have to do with the Torah?
For certain. There's no question about that. You get a whole religion out of this whole thing, leaving the Torah in your past.
But the whole thing that you're trying to prove is that you guys are the original Israelites, and when you were in Iberia, you guys were writing about stuff to saying that you were the Jews from 500 AD to like before the Spanish Inquisition. You guys said you had the records. You guys said you've always kept Torah. I mean, have you guys always kept Torah? Have you always guys kept Torah, knew about your Hebrew traditions and customs?
There has not been one year or 1 week that a Shabbat has not been kept since the destruction of the temple without fail. There hasn't been
the first temple or the second temple?
I would say the first temple. When Ezra and Nehemiah came back from Babylon.
So basically you're saying you haven't missed a Shabbat since the first temple that was erected during the time, like basically around 900 BC. So you're going back almost 3,000 years. So if you haven't missed not one Shabbat, and of course, if you haven't missed Shabbat, that means you've always followed Torah and you've always had the language of Hebrew. Why is it that before the creation of the state of Israel, that the majority of people living in the Pale settlements in southern Russia, in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, or Turkmenistan, or Kyrgyzstan, Eastern Europe, whatever you want to call it, why do people come out speaking the Germanic, Slavic, and Turkish language? And it wasn't until they went to Hebrew school and they infused modern Hebrew into their original ancestral language that you come up with the form of the language called Yiddish. Most Ashkenazi Jews that are 80 years old, before they even had 1948, the state of Israel, I asked them, what was your language before you learned Hebrew? They said, oh, well, we were a Turkish, Slavic, Germanic people. I said, the word of Yiddish come from? Everybody that is old enough to be in the Holocaust, they said, oh, we went to Hebrew school. We had to go to Hebrew school to learn this. We didn't know this. This was our ancestry from Central Asia. And so you guys infuse the language. You guys didn't just keep the Hebrew language from the first Shabbat back in the first temple and kept speaking Hebrew all the way until today. You guys had an ancestral origin, which is from Japhet, and you guys merged Hebrew with your Turkish, Slavic, Germanic, Central Asian, Eastern European language, and came up with Yiddish. You know Yiddish is not real Hebrew. But wait a minute. You know this. I mean, you know this. You know this. You cannot teach the original people the book because you don't even know how to write and read Paleo Hebrew. That's what they're.
All right, let him answer it.
He comes and asks me how is it possible these guys in this region spoke that language? This region spoke that language. How is it possible you speak a good Chicago slang? How is it possible you got a good English? Oh, is your whole community reading Paleo Hebrew? According to your logic, if they're not, then they're not the real people of Israel. Yeah, my people were sent into exile just like the whole house of Israel. You just built a whole logic that discredits your whole thing. Just because you don't know Paleo Hebrew doesn't mean you can't be from the house of Israel. When Ezra and Nehemiah came back from Babylon, they had to reteach the people everything. Why? Because they went into exile. We never went a generation without a sage representing the Torah for the children of Israel. And I'm asking you specifically about a 700-year period of sages where you say they were from the real people of Israel. And I have what they wrote down, and it was in Hebrew. They wrote Hebrew poems. They spoke Hebrew amongst each other. And when they didn't want to converse in the Holy Tongue, they spoke Ladino in Spain, not Yiddish. They spoke Ladino. But these people had a unified.
Ladino is a Romance language. You know that. You know what the Romance language. You know what the Romance language is.
English. Just like you speak English, bro. You're in the exile. You learn the language.
English is a Germanic language, so it's a cultural family. Yeah. Okay, so the Romance language is also tied into Latin as well. So you guys speak Ladino, or whether it's Yiddish, it's still not Hebrew. No, you guys are not speaking ancient Hebrew.
You're speaking the language of our exile lands, and that theme is across the whole entire globe, including yourself, who is speaking English right now.
Wait a minute. The Arab. Remember, in the Bible, it says that the children of Israel will lose their heritage. Now, look at the Arabs. The Arabic language existed since 500, 600 AD. People today still speak Arabic. They have one religion, Islam. They speak Arabic, one language. You guys claim to not miss not one Shabbat since the first temple.
But how about that? We know the name of it.
You guys still don't know how to read and write Paleo Hebrew. Well, tell me what happened. What happened, Harry Roseman? What happened? Tell me.
You could ask Ezra and Nehemiah because I'm sure this was already the same time they started writing the Asherah.
That's right. And Nehemiah, I can't ask them because they're dead. They're dead. They've been dead. So how am I supposed to ask them? So why can't you tell me the answer since you followed every Shabbat since the first temple? Why you don't know how to speak and read Paleo Hebrew? That's what they was reading right there. They weren't reading this modern Hebrew, block Hebrew that we call today Hebrew.
All right, let him answer real quick, Avram.
Your answer. Let me go back. I'm going to be very blunt right now. Let me go back to the basic things. Did you or did you not say that the Iberian Judeans prior to the 1400s were the real Judeans? Did you or did you not say that on Instagram many times?
Black Jews. The Black Jews, yes, okay. The Black Jews.
Okay. That's what I want to know. These individuals who you say were really your ancestors from the real Judeans, they were the advisors. They were in public records, not from the Jews didn't keep these records. The Muslims kept the records and the Christians kept the records. These guys were the advisors to the heads of the viziers and etc. And they wrote down poetry in Hebrew in the Asherite script. This question you have is not for me, but the people you say are your ancestors, because they were doing the same thing that I'm doing today. And so you got a lot of homework to do. You got a lot of digging to do before you start talking smack against me. I want you to come back prepared. I want you to be, go into the Torah and let's discuss.
I am prepared.
I'm ready.
Rabbi, listen, Rabbi. If the people, if there's different tribes in Africa, such as the people off of the coast of the Lango Coast, which encompasses Gabon and Angola, if they say that they are the exiles of the Jews that were banished in 1492, if you got people living in Yoruba land saying that they were the people that were exiled and were banished and they had to leave, otherwise convert to Christianity, become new Christians, and they came to the area where they knew their brother was at, and they have evidence, they have the Torah written in Moroccan, Arabic, and Hebrew, and another dialect. If you have people from Oyuda that say that they are descendants of the people that came from 1492, the banished Jews, all these people are saying this, and then when you look at the Old English records, Old English dates back to about 1400, 1500 AD. So the Old English records, before there was even real English, and the letter J and the letter F and letter S, all these different things were things that just twisted around, like the U and the U and the V with Pavel and Paul. When you look at the Old English records, it talks about the Negroes, the Jews, the black Jews that were banished from Spain and Portugal to the Portuguese colonies in Cape Verde and Sao Tome, which is St. Thomas and Principe, all these Equatorial Guinea, Angola, you will see that these people are black. When you test their DNA from the maternal side and the paternal side, from the father and the mother, they all are straight up Bantus people, not Sephardic Jews. So how do you explain that these black people that got banished, they say that there were the black Jews that got banished in 1492. They're living in the Portuguese settlements in Cape Verde, Sao Tome, St. Thomas, Principe, Equatorial Guinea, Angola, and also in Yoruba land, which is where Lagos means lake in Portuguese. The Elmina Castle, before it was named Elmina Castle, it was the Portuguese slave port. And you look at Oyuda, Ajuda, Ouida, Oyuda, these were Portuguese and French slave ports that they used to transport the children of Israel. They knew who these people were, and the people that actually came down to this area, they knew that they were descendants of the people that got banished in 1492. They already knew this. They already knew this, and when they got to Africa, they were able to continue to do things the way they was according to the Torah, and some of them converted to Christianity, but they still know who they are. They still have Hebrew traditions and customs that they've always known. They didn't have to go to school to learn this. It's built in them. They didn't know anything about the word Judaism and the Kabbalah and the Mishnah and the Gemara. It's always been in them. Even without a Torah, they were following customs. So how do you explain this when you guys say, "Oh, we're the Sephardic Jews"? When in all actuality, when you check your DNA is no different than any other European. Matter of fact, the Sephardic Jews can have more Neanderthal DNA than anybody else. It couldn't. Well, the Druze people and the Sephardic Jews have the most Neanderthal DNA when you test their population than anybody else in Europe. That's a known fact. You can look it up. Maternal DNA X. When you look at your maternal DNA English records, before there was even real English, and the letter J and the letter F and letter S, all these different things were things that just twisted around, like the U and the U and the V with Pavel and Paul. When you look at the Old English records, it talks about the Negroes, the Jews, the black Jews that were banished from Spain and Portugal to the Portuguese colonies in Cape Verde and Sao Tome, which is St. Thomas and Principe, all these Equatorial Guinea, Angola, you will see that these people are black. When you test their DNA from the maternal side and the paternal side, from the father and the mother, they all are straight up Bantus people, not Sephardic Jews. So how do you explain that these black people that got banished, they say that there were the black Jews that got banished in 1492. They're living in the Portuguese settlements in Cape Verde, Sao Tome, St. Thomas, Principe, Equatorial Guinea, Angola, and also in Yoruba land, which is where Lagos means lake in Portuguese. The Elmina Castle, before it was named Elmina Castle, it was the Portuguese slave port. And you look at Oyuda, Ajuda, Ouida, Oyuda, these were Portuguese and French slave ports that they used to transport the children of Israel. They knew who these people were, and the people that actually came down to this area, they knew that they were descendants of the people that got banished in 1492. They already knew this. They already knew this, and when they got to Africa, they were able to continue to do things the way they was according to the Torah, and some of them converted to Christianity, but they still know who they are. They still have Hebrew traditions and customs that they've always known. They didn't have to go to school to learn this. It's built in them. They didn't know anything about the word Judaism and the Kabbalah and the Mishnah and the Gemara. It's always been in them. Even without a Torah, they were following customs. So how do you explain this when you guys say, "Oh, we're the Sephardic Jews"? When in all actuality, when you check your DNA is no different than any other European. Matter of fact, the Sephardic Jews can have more Neanderthal DNA than anybody else, including the Druze people. The Druze people and the Sephardic Jews have the most Neanderthal DNA when you check their population than anybody else in Europe. That's a known fact. You can look it up. Maternal DNA X. When you look at your maternal DNA, it's straight up European across the globe. Maternal DNA H, HV, U, K, J. These are all European maternal haplogroups. When you look at the paternal DNA of your people, it goes back to Central Asia. It also goes back to the watered down people that call themselves the Arabs today when the original black Arabs were black. So when you look at J1, J2, when you look at R1A, when you look at all these different Y haplogroups, it shows that you guys are basically people that converted, because people that say they are one tribe, one nation are going to have one haplogroup. The so-called Negro, if you test
let
every
him
Negro in
respond,
America, you're going to get E1B1A. If you go to West Africa, you're going to get E1B1A. If you go to Australia, you're going to have C. You go to Papua New Guinea, you're going to have M and S. If you go to Ethiopia, you're going to have the same thing, E1B1A2. You're going to have the same exact uniform paternal haplogroup. You guys have about 9 or 10 of them. Why? Because your ancestral fathers and mothers just started intermarrying each other and just converting to Judaism. And this is why you've seen a huge number of the so-called worldwide Jewry happen overnight, because you guys did a mass conversion. And all of a sudden, you guys are 95% of the world Jewry, which is basically European. This is false.
It's a nice conspiracy
theory. But you guys say that you guys kept Torah back into 900 BC. So I mean, you can explain.
Let him respond. Go ahead.
I think it sounds like a nice conspiracy theory, but just to say off the bat, today we identify about 20 to 30 million descendants of the Spanish Inquisition who are still chased. After the Spanish Inquisition, the Inquisition came to America. They came to South America. They went to Mexico. They were in New Mexico searching for Judean communities. That's a fact. And there's still communities today who are lighting.
Who's the they?
The church.
Okay.
This is history 101. Anyone who wants to know about where the Spaniards fled in the 1400s, which I recommend you study, Ron, because actually there was a great community that fled that popped up in Spot in Israel right after the 1400 Inquisition. They went all across the world, these individuals. So today I can identify around 20 to 30 million of these descendants who are keeping customs and traditions and last names and all these things from Spain. There's even Palestinians in Israel who have Spanish artifacts hidden under their floorboards. And you know what I would say? And Ron, you're calling people out for being converts, whether they were converts or not. You were disgracing your ancestors' teachings by hating on the convert, because your ancestors had a code of law from Moses that allowed the convert. Who do you think taught these converts Torah if they were converts? And first of all, it's not 95%. Maybe there were conversions and they could have been popular families who bred, but who were the individuals making these people masters of Torah? Look, for example, Samuel Halevi. Everyone can go to Wikipedia, look at Samuel Halevi near 1320. He was the treasurer of King Pedro. They call him Pedro the Cruel. He was the treasurer. He founded the synagogue in Toledo, Spain. These are family clans that were in Spain that have writings. There's so much history here. I feel like you're not really studying. You're looking at a few E1, B1 DNA things and making these theories without really getting your hands dirty in the work. And that's what I'm trying to say. If you can come back to me and say, like, yo, this rabbi, he wrote this down. I know this year, he wasn't legit because, and if you say because and it makes sense to me, I'll hear you out. But you're just like, you're skipping over a whole entire chunk of reality over here.
Let's clear things up.
We could have a part two.
Wait. Let's clear things up. Wait, let me clear things up, Mike. We don't have a problem with Gentiles. We don't have a problem with people that convert to the Bible, the Old Testament and New Testament. Of course, I'm Messianic. So, but we don't care if you're from India or from Asia or from the Middle East or if you're an Ashkenazi Jew. If you want to accept the Creator and accept the Son, Yeshua HaMashiach as your Savior and Messiah, we don't care. We have conferences and assemblies where all races are welcome. The Bible says you're supposed to accept the foreigner and the stranger, and as long as he follows the laws of the Torah and he can celebrate the feast days, he's considered just like if he was a natural born Israelite. But the one thing that has to be clear is that we have to teach who are the real Israelites, who are the true biblical descendants of the Israelites through bloodline, not conversion. And as long as he follows the laws of the Torah and he can celebrate the feast days, he's considered just like if he was a natural born Israelite. But the one thing that has to be clear is that we have to teach who are the real Israelites, But the one thing that has to be clear is that we have to teach who are the real Israelites, but the one thing that has to be clear is that we have to teach who are the real Israelites, who are the true biblical descendants of the Israelites through bloodline, not conversion, because we know that a lot of people, a lot of people converted to Judaism, a lot of people converted to Judaism, even the Edomites. And let me just say this, wait, Rabbi Harry, before you say something, John, you know Flavius Joseph, whatever you want to call it. So he wrote down himself, and you guys love his works. You guys stand by his work. He said basically about the Edomite occupation of Judea at the time, around 100, 200 BC, before Herod the Great. He said that this country is also called Judea, and the people Jews. And this name is given also to as many as embrace their religion, Judaism, though of other nations. But then upon what foundation so good a governor as Hyrcanus took upon himself to compel these Idumeans or Edomites either to become Jews or to leave their country, because the Nabataeans and the Arabs below them was causing them trouble. And it said that, I suppose, because they had long ago been driven out from the land of Eden and had seized upon and possessed the land of the tribe of Simeon and the southern part of the tribe of Judah, which was a particular inheritance of the worshipers of the true God without idolatry. So it's a known fact that the Edomites came into Judea. The Greeks Hellenized Judea. The Greeks were up in there too. They converted to Judaism. You have pagan Greeks. You had Greeks that just loved Judaism and they wanted to stick to the laws of the Most High and the God of Israel, just like the Babylonians tried to do when they came in and they had the ark, and then all these plagues started hitting them. They had to give it back. The same thing happened with the Edomites, the Greeks, and the Romans. All you guys basically converted to basically Judaism, and took upon yourself to believe that you are the descendants of the real Jews. So that when the second temple fell, then you guys fought back. You guys fought back to keep the second temple from falling, but eventually you had to be banished. Where did you get banished to? You fell back into North Africa. Some of you guys did, and some of you guys went into Europe. Some of you guys went into Central Asia. And this is how else would Judaism be transformed? How else would Judaism get to the king of Khazaria? How else would his whole kingdom convert to becoming Jews? Attila the Hun and a lot of different Catholic priests, monks, and the Catholic Church and the Vikings and the people who lived in Russia before all of this happened, they admitted that you guys converted to Judaism. And when you look at the Sephardic Jews claim to be the oldest Jews, priests, monks, and the Catholic Church and the Vikings and the people who lived in Russia before all of this happened, they admitted that you guys converted to Judaism. And when you look at the Sephardic Jews claim to be the oldest Jews, and we was there on the first temple, second temple, whatever you want to call it. But it's interesting that even though the Hebrew Israelites have so much Hamitic blood in them, from mixing with the Canaanites for over 1,000 years, from mixing with the Cushites, with Moses the Poor, from mixing with the Egyptians, you still, the Ashkenazi Sephardic Jews do not have a trace of Hamitic blood from your mother or from your father that we can find, period. And that's a problem, because that means that we can't trace your DNA and your migration back to Northeast Africa or Israel. Your DNA is basically traced, like I said, to Europe and Central Asia from where you came from. So you're a Gentile. You got to accept that, but that doesn't mean that we can't follow the Torah. We can't worship the Messiah and the Savior and New Testament, Old Testament, even though y'all do that. But I'm just saying that we have to be clear on when we teach the real history or the bloodline, children of Israel, because we know at the end of the day, Gog and Magog is not going to regather the tribes. The children of Israel, Judah is going to regather the tribes, not Gog and Magog.
All right. Hey, Harry, we can't hear you. Could you hit
I guess he's giving up.
No, he got to fix his mic or something. But go ahead.
Then why did they start speaking of Germanic, Slavic people and Dogon people? But yet the Ashkenazi, that they know that the sons of Ham were black people. They repeat. I mean, you can go to Africa and see this. I mean, all the idolatry worship, all the ancient historical evidence, all the traditions and customs, all the language points to the fact there's people in Africa today that are descendants of the ancient Egyptians, descendants of the Nubian Cushites, descendants of the Canaanites, descendants of the Libyan Putites over in North Africa, like with the Tuareg people and the Fulani people and Dogon people. But yet the Ashkenazi Jews, supposedly, if they're real Jews that mixed with the Egyptians and the Canaanites and the Cushites for so many years, you would think that they would have some of this genetic evidence in their bloodline, but they do not. And if they trace themselves back to the first temple, then they should still be able to read and write Paleo-Hebrew.
Yeah. Hey,
if they kept every Shabbat, then why did they start speaking a Germanic, Slavic, Turkish language?
Hey, Harry, check if you got a Windows computer, check that the mic. Oh wait, I heard you a little bit.
Hear me now?
There you go. Okay.
Okay, and my ear things are no battery. Listen, I just want to say, quickly, talking about like if I want to be a Gentile, I could join his religion. But like, listen, the whole Stockholm syndrome thing. The people of Spain, they were stretched across pikes and tortured so they could worship to the cross in this Latin doctrine called the New Testament. So that's where I draw the line. I'm not interested in, we suffered for thousands of years to the sword of Christianity. So we're not about to be like, all right, you know what, actually we're into this whole thing. So we're going to draw the line there. But the way I look at it is religion shouldn't even have to do with this. If you think there's evil in the world, like these war machines and these, conspiracies with the money, I'm down with you on some of these conspiracies. We as humans should be conspiring together of how to take.
What conspiracies about the money? Well, who controls the money of this world? Who controls the money of this world? Who controls the mass media? Who controls the money? You already said this in New Jersey.
Yeah, but you're not saying
wait. Right.
Let him in.
Go ahead.
He wants to say it's the Jews. I want to say it's certain families that came from Jews who put their allegiance towards something that has nothing to do with the Torah, and we can consider these families to be wicked families who deserve the punishment for doing evil crimes against humanity.
But Harry, you're not going to speak out against the Rothschilds. If you say that they are wicked families and they control all the money, you know this. You're not going to be physically, publicly speak out against the Rothschilds, knowing that they're the ones that help fund, the ones that help create the state of Israel. I mean, the Israeli Supreme, on the side of the building. So you can call out people you say are wicked, evil families. They're your brothers. Come on now, Harry. Come on, please, Harry. You know who the ones that control the money, Harry. You know this. But then in New Jersey, you denied it.
Go to YouTube and go to Rabbi Rosenberg Exposes the Illuminati, and you will see that you just viewed a few minutes of wrongness because I've actually have called them out, and I'm no shame in my game. I'm going to be
Who started the Illuminati? Who was he?
I mean, you're talking about a transition when it went from Freemasonic fraternity.
What was his name? Who started the Illuminati?
If you want to say who you think started, you could let me know.
You did a YouTube on this. You should know whose name. If you're gonna say exposing the Illuminati, you should know who is the person that started the Illuminati. If you're gonna do a video saying I'm exposing the Illuminati, who started the Bavarian Illuminati? Who started it?
You can watch the lecture myself. I'm not an expert.
No. Answer the question, Harry. Answer the question, Harry. Yes or no? Do you know who started the Illuminati?
No, I personally don't know. I don't know.
Adam Weishaupt started the Bavarian Illuminati. Yes or no? Do you know who started the Illuminati?
No, I personally don't know. I don't know enough.
Adam Weishaupt. Yes or no? Do you know who started the Illuminati?
No, I personally don't know. I don't know enough.
Adam Weishaupt started the Bavarian Illuminati, and the Bavaria is in Germany. Is the Rothschilds are the Rothschilds of German descent? Yes or no?
It would seem that way.
Yes, they are German descent, just like the Bavarian Illuminati of German descent.
I don't know what you're trying to prove. I'm with you on shutting down the world order.
You're saying you know all these things, but you really don't know, Harry. Just admit it. You don't know the truth. You're getting the truth from us. We know the truth. We're the real Hebrew Israelites. We're the ones that's being given revelation of German descent, just like the Bavarian Illuminati of German descent.
I don't know what you're trying to prove. I'm with you on shutting down the world order.
You're saying you know all these things, but you really don't know, Harry. Just admit it. You don't know the truth. You're getting the truth from us. We admit it. You don't know the truth. You're getting the truth from us. We admit it. You don't know the truth. You're getting the truth from us. We know the truth. We're the real Hebrew Israelites. We're the ones that's being given revelation of what's happening in the last days and what we need to do as people. And we know our role and position in the world today in terms of the Bible. We all know, Harry, you already know this, Harry.
You got that.
God is the ones in Ezekiel 36, 38. We know about the battle of Armageddon. We know about the nations. If you are Gog and Magog, how can you be Gog and Magog and also be the children of Israel at the same time? It's impossible.
When you say we know, you mean that you
Armageddon. We know about the nations. If you are Gog and Magog, how can you be Gog and Magog and also be the children of Israel at the same time? It's impossible. Armageddon. We know about the nations. If you are Gog and Magog, how can you be Gog and Magog and also be the children of Israel at the same time? It's impossible.
When you say we know, you mean that you've, through your prophecy, that you have this Ruach HaKodesh, you've deciphered on your own as an individual, and now you are taking your people towards freedom. I understand you got your school of thought, I challenge it with an ancient school of thought that's passed down from generation to generation, and that's where we're going to leave it right now. Because you know what?
Was Ashkenaz one of the sons of Gomer? Yes or no?
Your question would bring no relevance.
One of the sons of Gomer. Was it? Yes or no?
Look at you're smiling like you got a good question.
Because it's in the Bible. It's in the Table of Nations, Genesis chapter 10. You know the Torah better. You should know the Torah better than me. You're a rabbi.
Bro. You're digging holes that make no sense.
Rosenberg. Was Ashkenaz?
Your question would bring no relevance.
One of the sons of Gomer. Was it? Yes or no?
Look at you're smiling like you got a good question.
Because it's in the Bible. It's in the Table of Nations, Genesis chapter 10. You know the Torah better. You should know the Torah better than me. You're a rabbi.
Bro.
It's in the Bible. It's in the Table of Nations, Genesis chapter 10. You know the Torah better. You should know the Torah better than me. You're a rabbi.
Bro.
Was it? Yes or no?
Look at you're smiling like you got a good question.
Because it's in the Bible. It's in the Table of Nations, Genesis chapter 10. You know the Torah better. You should know the Torah better than me. You're a rabbi.
Bro. You're digging holes that make no sense.
Rosenberg. Was Ashkenaz the son of Gomer? Was he an ancestor of Gomer? Yes or no? Yes or no?
I'm gonna have patience. I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna speak directly to him right now. Well, give me a second, because remember I told you before, when you have an educated debate, you have to ask the question and then you have to say what point you're trying to prove. If you're trying to prove that yes, Ashkenaz was the son of Gomer in the Torah, or now we call ourselves Ashkenaz Jews, we must be from Gomer. But every single Judean community in the entire exile called themselves after the host lands they found themselves in. So your logic is so not strong.
Okay,
like
let me ask you a question.
It's frustrating, dealing with this stuff.
Rabbi, you guys say you don't know why you use the name Ashkenaz. Okay, what is the word?
Because we flourished in the Ashkenaz lands for 500 to 800 years.
What does the word separate? What does the word separate mean? What does it mean?
Well, this was you find it in the Torah when it speaks about the exile of Judah.
Does it mean Spain? What does it mean? Don't tell me it means Spain. What does the word separate mean? What does it mean?
You have an opportunity. If you'd like to prove a point, you could prove a point right now.
If you are a Sephardic Jew, you don't know the origin of your name, Sephardic Jew. Harry, what does the word separate mean? Come on, Harry. Come on, please. Harry, come on, Harry. I'm not a rabbi, Harry. You're a rabbi. You say you're a rabbi. What's the word? What does the word separate mean, Harry? Come on, tell us.
You're saying you're a prophet. What I would say,
I didn't say I was a prophet. I didn't say I was a prophet. Who said that?
You got your Ruach HaKodesh. You got your divine instructions that you're giving over to your people. That's exactly what you said before. The way I want to have discussions with you now is because I saw how you treated me in the last discussion. You asked your questions, you try to smirk and smile, then you repost your 30 seconds on Instagram. So from now on, if you have a point to prove, you could say something, make a point, and I could answer back to you. But it's not going to work. You don't have the liberty to ask me questions like that anymore. You can make a point.
What does Sefer mean? What does Sefer mean?
I will tell you that it's a verse in Obadiah where it says the exile from the house of Judah was exiled as far as Sepharad. And so in the year 900 or 1000, when they declared themselves the official remnant of the Judeans was in Sepharad at that time. Anything more you want to say or prove a point, the court's yours.
All right. Well, real quick, one of the brothers asked a question about, he wanted me to ask you how to break down the word Jew or Jewish and where that came from.
For sure. We see one of the first times it was used is in the book of Esther, where you speak about Mordecai in the book of Esther. He says he was Ish Yemini, he was from Benjamin, but they refer to him as Yehudi, as from the Judean exile. So Yehudi would be someone who comes from the Judean exile. This is why when Nazi Germany, they called the Jews Jude or Judenrein, after the term Yehud or Yehuda. So in Arabs today, they call Jews Yahud, after Yehuda. So Jew is just a breakdown of the German version of Jude after Yahud, which is anyone today who's a Jewish, when you ask them around on the street, we lose more Jews today to assimilation than we do to the Holocaust. So these people, most of the Jews today we call exile Jews. They don't know much about anything. But if they say to you, I think I'm from Judah, Benjamin, Levi, that's because we're the remnants of the Judean exile, as well as you may be. I'm not here to call you out and say you're not.
Hold on one sec. All right, and I got a question of my own.
Fair use.
With the Holocaust, and I mean, like a lot of times you hear people say that was the worst event that ever happened, and But when you look in history, there were other events that happened, like King Leopold in the Congo and all the people he killed down there, and other events like that. And when you look at the curses in Deuteronomy, and then you look at the Jewish people as a nation, I know we brought this up a little bit earlier, it's like you don't see a correlation because, like we said, like in America, when you look at who controls a lot of the big businesses is people of that Jewish nation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, those Jews are Freemasons now. They're not Jews. They've become Freemasons. They don't invite me to their shows.
What I was saying is,
you got African American Freemasons too.
Yeah, but they don't like control Google and YouTube and all the everything, the media and the Hollywood, and they say like 50% of the billionaires, or almost 50% of billionaires are Jewish, or I guess you call them Zionists or whatever.
Well,
and what you kind of, I'm trying to understand what you said, because you said, well, those guys are Freemasons. So, but I was identifying them by what nation they were from. So that's what I was saying.
Well,
they don't identify themselves that way, though. Their children don't marry Jews. They don't keep the Torah.
Mike, because I got 8% left on my computer, and before it dies, I want to say this. The word Jew is not in the Torah. The word Jew actually, the amount of times it's in the Bible, you see it the most times in the book of Esther. The book of Esther wasn't found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. In the book of Esther, you can't trace back the lineage of Mordecai to Benjamin, basically clear, cut, and accurate. You're going to get like gaps of like 200, 300 years. So the Persian Jews live by the book of Esther to justify that they're the Jews, basically. And the whole Purim is something that the Most High did not say. That he didn't say, oh, we got 3 feasts you need to follow. Oh, we're gonna add a 4th one named Purim. He didn't do that. But anyway, it's interesting that in 2003 that Israel had the 2nd highest rate of skin cancer in the world. The skin cancer rates for Jewish people are higher if you were born in Israel than if you left Europe and came into Israel. What that means is that the people in Israel today are not the original people of that land. If you look at Egypt, Israel, Saudi Arabia, it's hot. It has the same heat index as in Nigeria. The people in Nigeria are black. The ancient Egyptians were black. The ancient children of Ishmael were black, brown-skinned people, because their mother was Hagar the Egyptian. So you look at the Levant people, you see the Canaanites dwelled in the land of Canaan before the Israelites did. And the Canaanites were the sons of Ham. And Ham means hot. Kam means hot. So basically, when you look at the people in that land, the people were people of color. The Ashkenazi Jews, the Sephardic Jews, the reason why they're getting skin cancer because the land is rejecting them because they are not the original people. They come from an area where the sunlight is less. And this is a known fact that most of the Caucasian white people live up north in Europe. And so it's no surprise that the white Arabs that we see today came from the same part of Central Asia, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all these areas as any other person that's claiming to be Jewish or Christian or Arabic, because you just basically convert to whatever you want. And then you're gonna say, oh, we're Chaldeans, oh, we're Jews, oh, we're Arabic people. But in reality, Islam started with the black Arabs. Judaism, or the ancient Torah, started with the black Hebrew Israelites. The Catholic Church, Christianity, that's just a bootleg of what Christ and the Hebrew Israelites already had, and they corrupted it with a lot of pagan. The ancient Torah started with the black Hebrew Israelites. Islam started with the black Arabs. Judaism, or the ancient Torah, started with the black Hebrew Israelites. The ancient Torah started with the black Hebrew Israelites. The ancient Torah started with the black Hebrew Israelites. The Catholic Church, Christianity, that's just a bootleg of what Christ and the Hebrew Israelites already had, and they corrupted it with a lot of paganism in it. And so you have people today that are controlling the Catholic Church, the Islam with the Saudis, and also Talmudic Judaism, that are all basically light-skinned, white-skinned people that are not the original people of the land. They know this, but they cover up the history because they don't want you to know the truth. They don't want you to know the truth of where these people come from. And the real children of Israel are scattered to the 4 corners, and they lost their heritage. Even though they lost their heritage, they still are practicing the Hebrew traditions and customs as if they never lost it, but they don't know because this is their way of life. And a lot of them still know how to understand and read Hebrew and ancient Hebrew. If you check out the Hebews language, it has Hebrew in it and Egyptian in it. The same thing with the Awe tribe. If you go over to the Wolof Serer tribe, it's the same thing. You go to the Congolese people, the Bakongo is Hebrew in their language. You go to the Xhosas, it's Hebrew in their language. You go to Buganda, Baganda people, it's Hebrew in language. You go to Kikuyu, it's Hebrew in their language. And the highest clan calls himself the Haburu. So, I mean, it's evident that the real Hebrews are black. It's the rabbis living in a fantasy world. He's trying to hold on to the fact that he is the descendant of King Solomon, King David, when he's not. You're a convert. It's okay to be a convert in the Gentile. It's okay. You're a convert. It's okay to be a convert in the Gentile. It's okay. You're a convert. It's okay to be a convert in the Gentile. It's okay. But you got to follow Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach.
No,
but we will accept you. We will accept you. We don't have no hate against you. You can come to the conference. You didn't come to the conference. You came to us when we were about to baptize. That, you know, Harry, I mean, we love to have you on the show anytime you want to talk about these things. But at the end of the day, Harry, you're a rabbi, you're a teacher, but you don't really know what you're talking about, Harry.
Now listen, if you wanted me to be a convert and join your man-made religion, I'm not interested in the Ruach HaKodesh script that you're bringing to the
religion we follow. We don't follow man religion.
No, you're Latin and Greek and English. You're reading some English words. You're coming up with ideas, and you're making edicts for your people, and you're jumping right over the Torah. Listen, we could leave it there for now. I understand your computer's dead. You know, I got humble respect for you guys as trying to arouse your community towards self-empowerment, which I think is great either way. For the future of America, and look forward to the next dialogue. And listen, I'll say it again: if you know, the world's in a crazy state, if you wake up your community and make them a proud, educated, one nation that functions together as one people, you could take the whole world by storm. And I'd be there to support it because I want a good freedom future for humanity. So you know, God bless you guys, and let's do our homework, and we'll see you back at the battle court.
Some people had well, I had one more question for you. I wanted you to clarify. You, Harry, you were saying basically you were when I said the people who control Hollywood and everything like that, you were saying, well, they're Masons. So what did you mean by that? I mean, but aren't they of the same nation as you?
No, because if you look at their grandchildren, they're not going to even be considered Jewish anymore. These aren't individuals who make sure their kids marry Jewish. They don't have Jewish weddings. They don't keep Jewish laws. They're not observing the Sabbath. So the people who control Hollywood today, likely their grandparents were religious or practicing people of the Torah, and these individuals have gone into a world of evil. They're not passing it on to their children. The children are not going to know or care. Their children have Christmas trees in their house for all I know.
Okay, well.
There's no future in this family. It's called parade. They're cut off.
Something else I wanted to ask was for the Holocaust. Somebody brought up a good point of like a lot of those Nazis and stuff like that who did those atrocities. The Jewish people got justice because even today you hear about them hunting them down, even today, and dealing with them. And what I was saying is that really doesn't line up with the curses you see in Deuteronomy, because it's like it said they wouldn't get justice. So what do you think of that?
I mean, you know, this is like you have to be a history buff. You have to look at the history of the Judean presence in Europe, even in the Arabic lands for the past 2,000 years. There was rapings and murders and pogroms literally every 50 to 70 years, where Jews were being tortured, raped, killed for literally 2,000 years. So for someone to say just like, hey, this is not like a peeing match of who suffered more, me or you, and then like we're the egos who gets to decide prophecy based on who wins this intellectual battle, who suffered more. Like we are. You think you're from that,
it wasn't that I was doing that. It just said the curses are the sign of who are the people of the book. That's one of the identifying marks.
And the people that are the real Israelites that go into the curses. You can't build a third temple with a Levitical priesthood that ain't real Levites. That temple is a sham. So, but when you look at the Levitical, when you ask Harry Rosenberg, Harry,
who are the
that go into the curses? You can't build a third temple with a Levitical priesthood that ain't real Levites. That temple is a sham. So, but to go into the curses, you can't build a third temple with a Levitical priesthood that ain't real Levites. That temple is a sham. So, but when you look at the Levitical, when you ask Harry Rosenberg, Harry, are there any black Levites or Cohenites? Yes or no?
I would say there probably were.
There probably
They
were.
were bright
Okay,
both-
so
both colors.
So how come they didn't know who they were, but you guys say you knew who you were, and you guys say that, oh, we're from the tribe of Levi, we're from the tribe of Cohen, but the Ethiopian Jews were from the tribe of Dan. So who are the people that are black Levites today? If you say that there are some, who are they today? The black Levites, where are they at?
There are white Levites and black Levites.
Where are the black Levites at? Where are they at?
Some of them are in Jerusalem, some of them are in Portugal, some of them are in.
What black Levites are in Jerusalem? Which ones? Tell me who. What black Negro-looking Israel Levites are in Jerusalem? Who?
Yeah, they're out there.
Who? The Ethiopian Jews are from Dan. So who are you talking about? The African Hebrew Israelites in Demona?
You're welcome to pray for me. No,
but yet you got people in Africa that have pictures of the breastplate of judgment, walking around the breastplate of judgment. They got aprons and they got all types of things showing that they know about the 12 tribes of Israel. They carry on their chest the 12 stones arrayed in 4 rows. But you're saying, oh, they're in Jerusalem. Hey,
you're welcome to come pray with me without getting all worked up and emotional and excited about it. So I'll tell you one theory that I.
Don't you tell the truth? Tell the truth.
I'm throwing a theory over here right now that I think holds true. If I ask you the comment, I know you think the Book of Esther is a whole fake thing, which blows my mind that you can come up with.
I just said the word Jew is 74 times in the Book of Esther. It's amazing that the word Jew has been inserted in the Book of Esther 74 times, more time than any other book in the whole Tanakh. And the word Jew is really a made-up word. The letter J didn't even exist.
Okay. You're wrong.
Judaism? Come on, man, please.
No, you're wrong. You're very wrong. If you look at the chronological order, when the book was written, it happened right after the split of the 2 kingdoms. Can you tell us what were the names of the 2 kingdoms of Israel? It was Malchut Yisrael, the kingdom of Israel, and Malchut Yehuda, the kingdom of Judah. So in Judah, the kingdom of Judah, which is all throughout the scriptures, that there was 2 entities, an entity called Israel and an entity called Judah. Literally, right after that split, this story of the Book of Esther happens, where we were referring to ourselves based on the kingdom of Judah. So the fact that you think that's out of place in the Tanakh, that's strange to me. It just in the first place.
Like I said, the Persian Jews, you check their maternal DNA, it's all white.
We're gonna go in circles over here. But his laptop died. Listen, you guys are good men. There's some points that need addressed for your community for clarity, so they could be educated consumers. And I've done my part. I planted enough seeds. I hope you guys could go to Wikipedia and Google the rest.
All right. Well, I appreciate